have in New Zealand a leader who has absolutely no business experience, but who is trying to run New Zealand Inc. On top of that, she is using other people's money in doing so, and that is communism, a philosophy that would put a smile on Comrade Jacinda's face. There have been at least 3 major issues where she has made captain's calls, all of which have shown her ineptness and lack of business acumen. If at the end of this video you agree or would like to hear more from me, please hit the subscribe button and the little bell to get notifications of new releases. The first call, or captain's call as she labelled it, was that the next Labour government would introduce a capital gains tax. Clearly she was calling out to her supporters with her philosophy of bashing the rich pricks. However, not realising that it is the same rich pricks who would provide her government with the funds she would need to run the country. Possibly at the time she did not really believe that she would become the Prime Minister in a coalition of losers, but the possibility must have been there in her mind, even if deeply buried. If she became the PM, she would need the support not only of the poor in our society to remain in power, but also the rich, as it is them that pay most of the tax that keeps the government going. Capital gains taxes are inherently complex to administer and produce a much lower net result than that promoted by the proposers of the tax. Also, with all the exemptions needed to be able to sell the tax, such as the family home, the complexities only increase. Finally, the so-called rich pricks will be able to employ tax consultants and use other means to be able to avoid paying the tax. But if they can't avoid the tax, they will just leave the country and base themselves in other low-tax countries, so leaving poor old New Zealand with an even greater deficit. A capital gains tax is not really a runner in this country, and thanks to the Winston First Party, it was dropped. The first bad captain's call. As for a positive spin, I would recommend the enhancement of greater expenditure taxes, such as GST, with a lowering of income tax and a flattening of the bands. As such, I am able, to a degree, to decide on how much tax I will pay. If I purchase a Rolls-Royce, I will pay much more tax than if I buy a Toyota Corolla. With the flat tax of say 20%, someone earning $500,000 will pay $100,000 tax, and someone earning $50,000 will pay $10,000 tax. So who is paying more? The second bad captain's call was the cancelling of all new exploration for oil and gas possibilities in Taranaki and the country as a whole. This associated with the banning of all new mining. Oil and gas will continue to be very important to the world's economy for many years to come, no matter what the adherents to the Extinction Rebellion philosophy say. There is no climate emergency, and the burning of fossil fuels is not having the effect that the proponents are stating. There has been a steady increase in the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere over the last 20 years, but there has been no general increase in temperature. Also, at a level of 414 parts per million, as it is at present, it has been claimed that we are in fact in a CO2 drought. The real effect of the ban will be the need for New Zealand to import more of its energy needs in the future. Part of this is the recent importation of coal to support the Huntly Power Station, imported from Indonesia, which will mean even more CO2 into the atmosphere than would have happened if the coal had been mined here in New Zealand. Hardly a green option. On top of this global effect, the local effect in Taranaki is immense. Not initially, of course, as the ban is on the future mining and exploration, but the industries involved are looking at a very bleak future. This on top of the now Wuhan virus ban and the effects it has had on our economy. What is needed is the access to relatively cheap energy so that our overall economy will grow rapidly to repay the massive debts now being incurred. The second bad call. The third bad call was to shut down the New Zealand economy to fight the Wuhan virus. This was, I understand, based on computer modelling that showed we were up for thousands of Wuhan virus deaths and an overloaded health system. However, the usual rubbish in, rubbish out theory could or should have been seen. We have had only 21 deaths and basically empty hospitals. New Zealand has some obvious advantages in fighting the virus. Easily closed borders, a relatively young population, and a sparsely populated country. Yes, 2020 hindsight is nearly always better, but there should have been consideration of the alternatives. These would include the closing of the borders much earlier than was done. The virus was imported, so stop the importation. On top of this, all people coming into the country should have been tested and isolated under supervision for the 14-day period, not the self-reliance model used. Also, the elderly and infirm should have been better protected. This is the section of the population that was most at risk and always would be. Sorry to be hard, but these patients with underlying conditions died with the Wuhan virus and not necessarily because of it. The rest of the economy should have been able to continue to work with some restrictions such as social distancing, hand cleaning, wearing of masks, etc. The cost of the increased numbers of Wuhan positive patients would have been far less than the cost to date of the lockdown. Let's have a look at Taiwan. No economy shutdown and a better health outcome than New Zealand's. They were prepared after the SARS virus, and we need to be better prepared for the next virus, as there surely will be one. The instituting of the lockdown was easy. The releasing of us from the lockdown is always going to be harder, but we must be released as far as is practical as soon as is possible. The third bad call. Looking to the future, there also needs to be an independent inquiry to establish where we went wrong, if in fact we did, and with the recommendations as to what we need to do for our protection in the future. This inquiry must be totally independent of the government, as we do not want any political interference from anybody. There will be another pandemic, and we must have a plan for dealing with it. That is the end of this video. Please do comment, as I do like these missives to be more than a one-way street. Please do not forget to subscribe and click on the little bell to see when I upload the next video. Sharing this video with friends and family would also be appreciated. Thanks for watching Captain's Cookies commentary, and we will see you next time.